أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What do we know about the ninth Imam, Muhammad ibn Ali Al Jawad, salamullahi alayh? How a young man was able to deal with the great responsibility of leading the community with regard to divine law. How people accept that a young boy of 7 or 8 years old is able to answer all the questions with regard to the Quran, to jurisprudence, to various subjects of religion. As we are approaching the birth anniversary of Imam Muhammad Al Jawad on the 10th of Rajab every year, let us discuss the significance of this young Imam. First of all, we know when Imam Rida alayhi salam, the 8th Imam, was poisoned with the instruction of Al-Ma'mun, the Abbasid Caliph, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad was only 7 years old. And when we talk about and search for the biography of this Imam, we find that even before the birth, even prior to him being born, Imam Rida alayhi salam told his companions that by Allah will be granted a son very soon who would be able to distinguish between truth and falsehood. And that is a great sign for Muhammad, son of Imam Rida alayhi salam, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad, to be able to carry out the responsibility, the task of Imamah, divine leadership. Of course, it was expected from everybody to have some little doubt. How can a young boy of 7 years old be promoted to that high level, high rank? But let us remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran in 2 occasions at least. One with regard to Isa alayhi salam, son of Maryam, and the other one to Yahya, son of Zakaria. Yes, we read in Surah Maryam in Ayah 30 that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us when everybody was astonished how this great lady, Maryam alayhi salam, gives birth to a boy whilst we don't know any husband for her. We were not informed about her marriage at all. She kept silent and pointed out to the cradle. And now Isa in the cradle says, Inni Abdullah, I am Allah's servant, Atani al-kitaba wa ja'alani nabiyya. I am Allah's servant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided me with the book, which is the book of Revelation, وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا, and appointed me as a messenger, as a prophet. So when an infant, a newborn baby, and here is Isa ibn Maryam is possible to accept that mission, that task, that rank, and that responsibility. Why we think that it is not acceptable with regard to Muhammad ibn Ali Al Jawad Salamullahi alayh, who was 7 years old. Again, we read in Surah Maryam, ayah number 19, that Yahya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses him, Ya Yahya, خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم صبيا. O Yahya, hold fast to the book, and وآتيناه الحكم صبيا, we granted him the prophethood whilst he was only a little boy. So let's summarize this, that the divine leadership, the divine position of being a leader for the community with religious matters is not restricted to an age, or there is no restricted facilities, qualifications, being well acquainted with the courses of studies at all. No. When Allah wills, then that it, and no one can argue about it. Now, the other point is how this young Imam managed to prove that he was appointed by divine will, and how he was able to answer the questions. In this sermon, we are going to mention two incidents. One from the time of Al-Ma'mun, and the second one from the time of Al-Mu'tasim. We know the Abbasid Caliph Al-Ma'mun. After Imam Rida, he came to know that there is one young son. But that young son is unique, is not to be compared to anyone. The wisdom, the knowledge, the manners, all moral values, everything are embodied in this boy. So he became fond of him and said that I am going to choose him as a son-in-law. So Al Fadl, daughter of Al-Ma'mun, was married to Imam Muhammad Al Jawad, and the Imam took her with him to Medina. Now, when this happened, and the Abbasids thought that how this is threatening their power, their authority, because they thought that by this way the Hashemites will gain some power, some authority. For long, it was the time of the Abbasids after the Umayyads to have the full authority, the only say with regard to religious matters, and to be so-called Khalifa, the successor to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But they thought that this might open the doors for the Hashemites to again be recognized, people follow them, so they warned them. They warned Al-Ma'mun and said, beware that the consequences are not good. And when he was decisive to get his daughter married to Imam Muhammad Al Jawad alayhi salam, they said at least arrange for him to be examined for some tests, And if he was successful, oh, that's good. So everybody will be convinced and knows that there is some qualification, some merits, some distinctions here. But if he failed, of course, that proves that you change your mind. So, a gathering was arranged. Many scholars at that time gathered and threw in the presence of Al-Ma'mun a question. O Muhammad ibn Ali Al Jawad, what is the penalty for a person during Ihram who hunted something? So, when he said that, the Imam raised various circumstances and theories about this. The first, he asked, was that person who was in the Ihram within the sanctity of Haram, or it was beyond that? Was he knowingly, he knew about the hunting is prohibited, or was ignorant about that? Was it by mistake, or he did it by intention? Was the prey a small or big? Was it for his first time, or he had done that before? Was it from birds or other animals? Still, he was insisting and firm to do it again, or he regretted that. Was it during the daytime or night? And was it for Ihram of Umrah or Hajj? So all ulama and people who were there were astonished and did not know what to do. Which of these? And is that such a great difference between all these circumstances and situations? The Imam knew that. So then he was asked to explain and in more details this complicated ruling, whether it was during the daytime or night, whether it was Umrah or Hajj, it was, by intention or by mistake, and all other possibilities and theories. Okay? Now, the Imam alayhi salam mentioned one by one. Then Al-Ma'mun turned to those ulama and said, look, I'm right, and you thought that we have to educate him, we have to allow courses that he would attend, and after that we accept to recognize him as a son-in-law. But now you can see that these are people inherently, these are a family who inherently know these masail from their forefathers until the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this was during the time of Al-Ma'mun. However, after Al-Ma'mun passed away, it was the reign of Al-Mu'tasim, another Abbasid caliph. And of course, something similar to that was raised to Al-Mu'tasim, because gradually scholars, the narrators of hadith, and all people who were concerned with the rulings of Sharia came to know that, look, whatever this group of people who are claiming to be the successors of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they have deficiency in their knowledge, they have lack of depth of different circumstances. And when a young boy from the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the line of the Hashemites, is able to answer all those questions in details in a very, very nice way. So people loved him, thought that he is the one to be followed. So during the Mu'tasim, again, we see that some people try to convince the Mu'tasim not to allow any opportunity for Imam Muhammad Al Jawad alayhi salam to have a type of publicity or followers. So here it was the time of the highest mufti, juridical officer for the Abbasids, in the name Abu Du'ad. And in that case, someone who confessed of theft and came to the Mu'tasim and said that I want to be clean from this mistake and this wrongdoing. So, what is the punishment to be levied upon me for this? So, he, Abu Du'at, the greatest mufti, gathered the ulama. Some of them said it must be cut from the elbow, because the ayah says that the penalty and the punishment for someone who steals, of course, with whatever conditions are mentioned in the books of jurisprudence, that his hand to be amputated. So, what is the exact definition of hand? So, some of those scholars who were consulted said that it is from the elbow. And when he was asked, where from you got this definition? He said that because the ayah of wudu says that we have to wash our hands, and that is between the elbow and the fingers. The other one said no, it is from the wrist, and he relied on the ayah of tayammum. When we do tayammum with dry ablution, we only try to touch the soil or earth until or up to the wrist only. So, when this is the case, so the other one that in the dictionary or whatever lexicons, even from the shoulder to the fingers, that is all considered to be hand or yad. And they were confused. So in this, Al-Mu'tasim asked Imam Muhammad Al Jawad alayhi salam, what is your opinion? The Imam said they gave their verdict. They answered the question. Excuse me, I'm not interested in entering that type of debate, because he knew that they misuse whatever the Imam is going to do. But Al-Mu'tasim insisted, and the Imam alayhi salam said that neither of these people are right. None at all. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when you pray, one of the main obligations and duties of the prayer is to go for prostration. And in the prostration, in the position for prostration, you have to touch earth by seven parts of your body. Your forehead, the palms of your hands, the knees, and the big toes. These are 7. So, there is an ayah in the Quran, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. The places and the limbs or those parts of your body that are specified for prostration, sujood, belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't cut it. You can't amputate it. So that's why the only thing is to cut the four fingers, not the palm, not until the wrist, not until the elbow or the shoulder. And history tells us the biography of Abi Duad, the great mufti of his time, records that he said, I wish that I died many, many years ago and not to witness that a young boy passes a verdict in such important matter that I, as the highest authority within the Islamic State, according to Mu'tasim, I was unable to answer it. And of course, in these all we find that the position of imamah, the task of divine leadership, is not to be compared to any other normal way of dealing with things. And that is, once again, to prove that the imams from the progeny of Rasulullah, they are error-free. They are provided with a wisdom and knowledge from their forefathers until the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about their ancestors, according to whole family, that they are purified thoroughly and every impurity is removed from them. And that is why we honor them, we love them, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always to strengthen this love and this communication between us and our imams. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.